Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Let's get into the configuration part. When it comes to the configuration part, we have got something called advisor. This advisor, it should be enabled that it will be used. It can be used in the modules. Job posting bill rates exceeded. This is something which will act as an advisor in the sense it's going to advise if a person is trying to create a job posting. For him, a bill rate will be set up under his user attribute. A bill rate should be set up. For each project, you can utilize much. If that exceeds, this fossil is there. You are exceeding. You cannot proceed further. It stops from there. Those kinds of things can be done here. Invoice generation. Invoice will be automatically generated. We don't need to have that. That is when once the timesheets is approved, it just populates. Invoice will be automatically generated for us to show. Work order certification experiment. Before the start date of the work order, these are the smaller, simple mistakes that the users will be doing when they are creating. They might not put the start date properly. They might put the start date in the future date or the past dates. That's when you're going to get these kind of reminders, or say, I would say the pop-up, the system. This is our advisor list that's based upon the requirement of the users, how users are diligent in using the system. If at all, if they are very new to it, we need to use that whole lot. Categories? Categories are like the different categories that's being used across. Here we are using for job posting module. Do we have anything for master data? It's not been set up. Any sort of questions? This is like the categories within the system we can maintain. It's been created. I don't think it's being used. It's not being used in the activity checklist. This can even be used in the activity checklist as well. If the company is using extensively, that's when these are all coming to the picture. But just classification forms are very important part. These classifications are like, this is something which we saw in the S45W type as well. This classification has 12 suppliers assigned to it. And there are 2 SWOT-view templates under it. I hope you guys a lot into the system understood something, at least the navigation part. I think you guys have done that. If you want to classify something new, you can go ahead and do this. It should be linked to the S4 review type there. That classification is used for any of the templates. When it is created here, it's been linked to the S4 review type. When it is linked to the S4 review type, that's when you can create templates from that type, S4 review type. This is contextual help. Contextual helps are like just now we just hover over something and it gives the information that this is first for B. When once the SAP view is created, we are going to receive that info. I'll show you guys. Make you understand that. Just give me a quick minute. For example, see here. This is called a contextual help. It is going to just explain what exactly it is for the user. Because users will not be having the complete idea of every part. If they need any assistance. As such, this is going to give while creating, for example, while creating a run. For example, I go ahead and create a job posting to the worker. I will select some. Over here, you'll see this. More info. I'm going to put across the start and end date. And the travel required is yes. What is the percentage? Let's say 50% travel. Who is the agency from whom the worker is coming in? I have the cost object. I need to have the name for cost object. By this one when I'm creating. If the user needs any assistance, how such to understand what it is? Then we can assign this. We can assign this service there, that when he overrows the I mark, he gets the complete information on what needs to be. What does that mean? For example, if it is a business unit, what does that mean? That is, I'll try to show what's been set up. Contextual help. When the interview or meeting is scheduled. At the top of the page, this spot is coming up. This is what is contextual helpers. I'll just try to go. You guys. It's not been set up. This is something you know, the action that needs to be taken. It's going to explain what is the action that needs to be taken. That's the contextual help. We saw what is custom field. These activity items, this contextual help advisor. These are the something which is not something which I have to concentrate on these sessions, but I'm just giving you an idea of what it needs to be. Even I don't want to overload you guys on everything. But yes, it's just good to know. Information for you, I would say. The custom lookup. It's like we can create the custom lookup for whatever the lookup type we want. We have got the custom fields. We have got the custom fields with respect to the different modules. We can even create the custom lookup here. By this, we can bunch it up for each set of type that we want. number of segments, planned coded job posting template timesheet type. This is just combining that. We custom field and custom lookup. The custom text in next. The custom text gives you the text that needs to be put in for the understanding of the user. This is one of them. Help Center. How to get into the Help Center? Contact us. That is something which has been set up. Where do we see that? Here we go. This is the Contact Us. This is what we see there. This is used for a savvy bit. This is the custom text to help understand some of the custom built-in fields. White spin build. Jobbed. This is one of the master data, I would say. This is normally coming from the HR system. However, we will be maintaining this manually. These job codes are the codes that's been assigned to each of the workers. I would say the role. For example, when I go to the worker, I go to any of them. It says business ME. This is the role. We'll be having the job code right here. That's not been filled in, but this is the field where we need to finish the job code. This is something which we have to maintain manually within the system. This data is coming from the HR system. It is important that we maintain that way because this is also important for the billing purpose in the other systems. There are numerous ones. We can create the new one. We should not create it on our own as it is the data from the HR system. Whatever the HR system says, we can go ahead and create those. This is the next level of master data. This is the master data that is maintained. No doubt we have. We already have got the master data over here. What I explained during the first couple of sessions. However, on top of it, if the company requires, I've never seen in any of the projects that we maintain this as an additional. These are all the custom filled master data. Customized master data, I would say. If requirement lies, that will be maintained here. Pick list. A pick list is again the custom fields. Custom fields are considered as pick list. These are grouped. For example, activity type. It's a custom pick list. Custom field pick list. We have got the roles added under it. System ID is a pick list. This is me. System ID is something which is coming through the integration. I think that's the update that they have given here. Material group. It's a pick list here. And then this domain. It's a custom pick list to which it needs to be updated. The road. They have selected those. Let's go and search one of them. We don't see the system ID because it's a test site. It's not being integrated to the other system. We see the material group here. You have got the I mark here, which is field visible to the buyer user only. On top of it, it is a custom field. While I see it as custom field, I'll show you guys. We've got here. For worker material group, we were checking in the CV ID. We see it here. The custom field, where it is defined in the pick list. Here we go. This is the pick list. Let's go to any other one. We saw the PO reference ID there. PO item reference. PO item reference. Where is it coming from? It is linked to the statement of work. It is coming from the statement of work, the PO reference. And let's go to the. This is not a pick list. Now the pick list is what we understand out of pick list. Pick list is the combination of some of the custom fields that's been created. Pick list is by default, it's a custom field. The combination, I would say, is the material group contingent of VC, numerous that's been used across the roles. That's the pick list. We can create a new pick list. Custom field source. What should be the pick list type? Custom field source. Custom field pick list itself. Integration pick list. Is it coming from the other system? It is a custom field pick list. What would be the source? We can add the pick list items to which it needs to be applicable to the roles, and I can add it by adding that. This will be created. We have got the help here. When user selects us, when user selects user as source, this pick list will contain all the active users in that format. Display name. Additional items can be entered. All the entries must be unique. This is the contextual help that you get. Let's go to another star. That's the source. You can add it. This is something with respect to the pick list and its relation with the custom field. No doubt, pick list is even a custom field. It is used for managing the custom fields all together in a group. Let's make sure we're tested. Any sort of questions that needs to be used in the system for anything for that matter can be used here. I can select the module that I've got. Are you satisfied with the worker's performance? We saw this in the wizard when we saw that. How satisfied are you? Explain the delay in providing contractor for our important project. There's a supplier qualification or the question. Similarly, I can create the new question here. Selecting the module. Is it the supplier qualification or the wizard? Wizard is exclusively used for anything within the system. Whoever is there in the system, like contractors, SOV and non. Supplier qualification is exclusively for the suppliers. We can maintain the question here. By this, what happens every time? The user doesn't need to type in the questions. Rather, they can go ahead and select it. We have got the rules here. It should be mandatory or not. Repeat question for each combination. We can even set it to repeat that you don't need to type in whenever you create. By default, it's going to go to them and they can reply to it. Similarly to the questions, we have got the reasons. You're closing an assignment. Why are you closing it? We are closing an assignment way before the end date. Why are you closing it? This is one of the examples that I'm giving. Completion. The reason for completion is neutral. That's assignment cancelled. Assignment cancelled. For example, when I go to view worker, say for example, I go to this worker. We try to close the worker. You've got that reason here. The reason will be there. That means set up there. Completion. Early termination. Add by customer. See others. This is something which has been set there. I just close this worker here. Completion. Early termination. Add by customer. See others. That's what we saw there. That's how the reasons are setting. We can set in the reason over here. Picking up a module. What is the action that's been taken? Picking up the module, for example, if it is a job code. When you are inactivating the job code, you need to have a reason. Name it. Or it's been inactivated. It is no longer. Inactive HR systems. Or an active HR system added. Inactive in HR system. Let's say, for example, you have an arm. We go here, we go to any of the job code. Simple. It is active here. I'm going to inactivate. I'm going to get provision. Inactivate our system. This is something which I created now. Used it here. That's how. Across what I've given you the overview with. This is how it's going to work. When it comes to activity checklist, when it comes to activity item, offboarding, activity checklist, threshold. Here when it comes to the advisor, classifications and category. That is quite different. That's exclusively used for the major modules. We can consider here as advisor and the pick list creation. Questions and reasons. See, these are all something which is good to know for you guys. If it is just going way beyond your knowledge and don't worry about that. Manually maintained to what is manually maintained. Labor type is manually maintained because it's not coming from any other system. It's not maintaining any other system. Plant is not required. Plant is not required. Plant is for the materials procurement. The file field has a need. Expense code. Expense code is something which is exclusively maintained in FiledGlass for the contractor's expenses. Probably it's per day travel expenses and the food. Rate component. Rate component is maintained in FiledGlass. Exclusively maintained in FiledGlass. Timesheet rate. Groups are maintained in FiledGlass. What is that? Let's see. Labor type. We saw that the other day. This is the labor type. This is something which has to be maintained here. This is created across. The classifications. I would say the classifications of the contractors that they are willing to use across the company. This is something that a company would use as external contractors for these roles, and they have done that. No doubt, on top of this, there is something called job code, which is defining their role. I'd be not clerical. They might have 30 or 40 roles under that. Similarly to accounting and finance. Scientific industrial. This is the first level of classification. This is just the first level of classification. Labor type is something which has to be maintained here. Expense code. Where do we maintain the expense code? The expense codes are to be maintained in the system. Under financial data, we have got everything out of it. I'll pick it up expense code for now. These are the expense codes. Why and where it is used. It can be created here. These codes are used when the contractor is filling his timesheets. Expense sheets rather. The first level of classifying passports is when the contractor is filling his timesheets. We have got the expense code. We have got the expense type as well, which can be maintained or we don't need to maintain at all. Expense type is the first level of classification, I would say, like the labor type. Not much required. We need to understand. We have got everything covered here if we want to classify these things. For meal alone, one classification. For overseas travel, one classification. Domestic travel, one classification. We can do that in the expense type. Currencies are maintained here. We can add the currencies. Currency conversions, if you would like to, can be updated on a daily basis. The invoice adjustment. Invoice adjustment is any sort of taxes, discounts, GSTs on for that particular locality. That is maintained here. GST on timesheet. This is an invoice adjustment. We saw in one of the rules whether the user can adjust the invoice. The user can adjust the invoice adjustment. Those kinds of things are maintained here. Invoice adjustments. We have got numerous invoice adjustments. If you want to have it under the group, we can group it. We can see how it's being grouped. Has it been aligned to the SOW templates? Job posting templates. How many job posting templates? 43. Now we should understand how it is required. How much important it is to have the multiple job postings or templates as for their requirements, as for the company's requirement. GST has been maintained. It's been set to 10%. GST, SOV, invoice and timesheet, they are maintained. This is grouping the invoice adjustment. Can the invoice adjustment group? Can the user change the invoice adjustment group while creating the SOW, while creating the work order? Should be set to no. That is for internal control box. Invoice billing schedule. They are maintaining the invoice billing schedule as default. Schedule type is on demand for the expense sheets. For the timesheets, again, we have to maintain the invoice billing schedule. Month. Weekly, the timesheets can be filled, and monthly, you can reconcile the timesheets. Or monthly, the timesheets can be filled and the same thing can be reconciled. General ledger. This is the. Let's go back and come to it later. Timesheet rate groups rate component. Rate component. Where is rate component? Rate component is the rate structure. This is the rate structure. We need to maintain the rate category. Tick. Sometimes it is double time for holidays. For government holidays, we consider it as double time. And even 2.5 times half a day rate. over time. It is a rate category. We need to categorize the rates. Rate change metrics. It's something that is normally not used. This is not used. Whereas the rate component is something which we have to use. It's being used across the roles that we have got. This will normally be maintained by the MSPs if it is outsourced to the MSP teams. Administrators will more be concerned on the technical aspects than the staff. This is more into the finance part and accounts. Accounting part, I would say, where MSPs will look into these things. Whereas we need to understand when it is an implementation part, we need to understand these things need to be incorporated, and it has to be incorporated accordingly. Rate, component, rate grids, or the different roles that's been used. What happens in this is, once we have it here, the rate components can be selected there by creating the job postings. We don't need to manually enter the rates. Part of our app will interpret this. We don't need to do that. We can just have this and align to the job posting templates here. Rate component group. And the rate component. Part of the banking. Rate grids. And the rate component. If the deal is not required, rate is something that's just going to define the code for. There's a minimum and maximum that can be set up. We can create or we can completely update it if it is broke. I'll show you guys how to do that. The rate components are to be made. What is the other part? Linearly maintained and failed tasks is these things. Rates are to be maintained. Expense votes are to be maintained. Even with respect to the timesheet, the task votes are to be maintained. The labor type is even to be maintained. Now, which is automated from ERP to through the middleware configuration. This can be done. This can be even maintained manually. Some of the customers wants to maintain it manually because it's very difficult to integrate because they would have multiple ERPs. If not, If they have single ERP across the globe, yes, the cost center can be integrated. We don't need all the cost centers, we just need something which is required for the contractors, exclusive contractors. Filter that contractor from there and push the data to the middleware. Locations. We don't need all the locations, we just need the locations that the contractor will be based on. A currency conversion is something which has to come from the ERP. Probably it might come on databases. It is better to have it on databases because if they're using USD across the globe, when they want the currency within the system, they need to have it. And then the currency. Currency that is required exclusively for FiledGlass, that is for the contractors. Company details. As we spoke about on the other day, it's a one-time setup for the whole buying organization. It will be set up by the FiledGlass support. Expense codes should include billable and non-billable. Over time. Data cleansing and on. Overtime requirements or any sort of the double paydays as we saw there, it needs to be made day. When it comes to the expense type, we use the rate structure to maintain the expense type. We maintain the rate structure to understand the expense types. These rate structures are even configurable within the template. We saw that. We saw in one when we were talking about the creation of the template. We can use that. The invoice adjustment group is an exception if the invoice is created and processed in Ariba or in ERP. If the invoice is created and processed within FC, we need to maintain that. If it is only created and maintained in FiledGlass, it needs to be maintained. But yes, invoice is normally created in FiledGlass. When it is created in FiledGlass, it is better to have the invoice adjustment group in place. If not, we don't need to maintain that. If Ariba is doing it, we don't need to maintain that. Invoice adjustment types are like the different invoice adjustments. We saw one of the adjustments that's being created in the system now. The miscellaneous invoice adjustments. The miscellaneous invoice adjustments are miscellaneous invoices are called as the invoice that's being created for onboarding and offboarding terms. It's not a normal invoice which is created on the basis of timesheets, or it is created on the basis of the deliverables or fee or events. It is for onboarding and offboarding, where in some cases they need to spend additional money to onboard and offboard. In that case, miscellaneous invoices are used. Those are just like Again, the GST comes into the picture there. That needs to be maintained for all the modules. Is it taxable? The tax code needs to be maintained. If it is taxable, of course it will be taxable. In most of the cases, it will be taxable. Discounts. Any discounts can be maintained, as we saw that. Only the specific GLL accounts are maintained. That is required for the external workforce management or external workforce procurement. The rate component group, it will be maintained in a field class manually. Now we have got an option. If they are using success factor, the rate component group can be maintained even in a success factor for various invoice and contractors, and it can be integrated from there. But yes, for contractor it is better. It is recommended to maintain the rate component group within the system. In the rate component, which has to be maintained in field class manually, it should be only a flat fee, as unit and margin should always consist of the plus and Ds. Margins are like the MSP margins should be maintained as 1 or 2%. On this, the rate component is like it is something which we can maintain as flat fee and a percentage. If it is kept as 0, then the user can make the required changes while he is creating. The user should be having some amount of liberty while he is creating on his budget. Timesheet. Rate groups are like standard rate bill rate over time. We saw that, and that's good. Let's quickly go. This will see the rate component here. Flat rate per day. The value should be set to 0 here. By setting this value to 0, the creator can go ahead and update the rate there. It's just a margin that we have to maintain. These are the contextual help or the advisors. Advisors is something which is going to populate. This is the contextual help. Include MSP calculation. The component will not be included in the MSP calculation. This component is used in 45 groups. It will be maintained in the group. We can see this value is 0. %10% component limit. Value should be set to 0 and then the percentage can be set in. It is something very. It's a typical stuff to understand, I would say. Starting from the creation part, but a technical consultant will not be creating all these things. This is like, say, for example, this is something which a company decides upon and the MSPs work around along with them while implementing. No doubt we should be involved in this. This is something about the rate structure. Here it is, the timesheet rate group. Any sort of. This is the standard rate group that will be maintained. This is the marker. No doubt it's not been assigned to any one of them. It's not been assigned to any one of them, but we can assign this that it will be used in the timesheets. The financial data and the rate structures are some of the typical stuff. No idea whether it is easy to digest for you guys. I have just given you the overviews. You see the worker pay type here. Where is it coming from? It's been assigned to the job posting templates. Where is it coming from? It's been set up here. If we have to update this in bulk, we can go ahead and do it. We have got the template here. Let's see if we download the template. This is the template. I think you guys can see my screen. This is the template. Modification is A or D. A stands to add. We can add a rate code if you want to add. If you want to add, we can add a rate code, something like this. We can give the description rate, category, maximum and minimum rate. And then we can upload this. We can have as many as possible uploaded once it gets processed and reflects there. No doubt we can understand that when we are talking about the upload and download connectors. These are the rates. The rate needs to be under. Rates will be grouped. And it will be linked to the rate grids. This is something about the financial data and the rate structure. I think with respect to the maintenance, the master data maintenance, we understood. Either it is something needs to be manually maintained. Some needs to be maintained to the integration from ERP. Some from Ariba if the field class is integrated with Ariba. Just to understand, I gave you the information about the financial data. No doubt it is important. It is important to understand the financial data maintenance as well as the rate structure. But yes, being said that, at what level you are trying to understand things given matters there. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.